Good afternoon.
No?
Good afternoon. My name is Sandra. I am a Spanish student and I learning English. So, excuse me for my English.
Okay, I'm not perfect too.
And can you speak slowly, please?
I try my best.
Okay, thank you. I would like to ask you some question about your life. What's your name?
I'm MATHIAS21.
Okay. Where and when were you born?
In East Berlin this time, in 1967.
Describe your family of the GDR.
My family or my life?
No, your family.
My family. My father is, or this time he was, a gardener, so we had some greenhouses and he took care of the plants. And my mother is called, or was working as called florist, so she's actually making the flowers, make some nice bunches of flowers, some decoration, even rooms like that. So she made some nice flower decoration and we sold that. Also we grew some vegetables.
Okay. Did you have children in the GDR time?
No, I was too young.
How was your family influenced by the GDR?
There are two different things. I mean, one thing was that, as I said before, we had our own company, like a private company, which actually officially did not exist in the GDR. So it was officially not existing. We had only these people-owned companies everywhere, and private companies were just not existing, so nobody were really talking about. But we had one of these small companies, so my parents were actually self-employed. And on the other hand, I personally, or also my family, we had some problems when, I mean, most of the people there were not allowed to travel to other countries. So that was of course difficult, and it was difficult if you wanted to tell your opinion about something, especially politics, openly. That was almost not possible. And if you did that, then on the other side you got some problems later. So for example, I was not allowed to do what we call Abitur, high school, because I was not like accepting that much the political system or the political opinion as we were told. So that's why I had some problems with the high school, later with the study. To go to the university was not possible, and so I had to face some problems because of this different opinion about something, about the government, about the political things.
Did you lose any relatives in the GDR period?
No.
I know. Did you do military service?
Yeah, of course you had to. It was duty.
What is compulsory? Was it compulsory?
Compulsory. Actually, what's the meaning of compulsory?
That you must do it, an obligation.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Yeah, of course. Like mandatory. Yeah, of course, yeah. It was a duty, so everybody had to do that. And I mean, there was actually no plan B, so you haven't had any choice. Like nowadays, of course, you can choose if you do that or if you do something like a social year. You really haven't had this choice at that time. So you had to do it, or you had to face very, very difficult consequences, like going to jail, for example.
Did someone in your family do military service?
No, only myself, because my parents were too old already, so they had done before maybe, and my brother was too young.
Are you affected today because of this experience?
I think not anymore, not nowadays. 20 years ago, maybe yes, but not now anymore.
And your family?
Not really.
What did you think about the dictatorship during that time?
As I'm not that much into politics, actually let's say I ignored it a little bit. In the normal life you could not really ignore it always, because you were not allowed to travel. As I said before, you were not allowed to tell your opinion openly. So there were some problems you really had to face, yeah, so you could not really avoid it. In the end, the life was, maybe you could say, kind of normal, as long as you didn't touch any border, like telling your opinion, going out of the country, or maybe some, I don't know, if you wanted to do something different, like starting a company, making your own ideas coming to life, that of course would always be very difficult, especially if you were not mainstream. So if you have a different, or had a different opinion about something, especially politics, you always came to some walls, some borders, and so the government was in this case not really flexible, not helpful. So it was a little bit like what we call a golden cage, a little like a bird in a golden cage. It was not that golden, in the end, some former Westerners might have had a different idea about living in the GDR. Some people even thought that we don't have enough to eat or something like that. Of course you could eat everything, but you could not buy, for example, bananas or other fruits or pineapple, piña, whenever you wanted. Yeah, so it was just not available. But the biggest difference, I think, was that you were not allowed to leave the country, except some socialist countries you could visit, but and the other thing was that you could not really tell openly your opinion about something. That was always the biggest handicap or the biggest problem you had, I guess.
Is there anything else that you would like to add?
No, as I said, for me, the two biggest points were actually these political things and the traveling thing. So this was actually the biggest influences on my personal life. Of course, some other people might have had much bigger problems, especially when they started to fight against the government or against the system, and then they were imprisoned or something like that. So I guess they have had a much harder life. For myself, it just means, or this time it meant that I was just not allowed to do this Abitur, high school. Yeah. Because of that, I could not do later the university. So the whole education process was different, more difficult, and led to a point where actually still now I don't have the university degree. Of course you find different ways to create or not create, to modify your life or to arrange your life in a different way. To find a possibility to make what you want, job-wise or other kinds of other parts of your life, to create it in a different way. But of course, sometimes it would be much easier if you would have the university degree or whatever, because then you could have studied, you could have done this, you could have done that. So the professional life would have been much more different, I guess. Mm-hmm. Maybe even easier.
What were you doing the day they were working?
Actually, I was in Dresden. It's a kind of known city in the south of East Germany this time, and I was studying. This time I was in a kind of university, and I was studying this time Gartenbau, which is like agriculture, and it was a Thursday as far as I remember, and we went to school, to university, and this time it was very difficult to even get a newspaper, because the news were coming up so fast that when you got the newspaper it was already old, it was already expired. So the news in the newspaper were not new anymore, because they are newer news already. So this morning everybody tried to get a newspaper at the kiosk, and actually then in the university there was like a rumor coming up that the wall came down, and yeah, it was, everybody could not really believe it. And so everybody was excited, nobody listened to the teacher anymore, of course. And yeah, in the end everybody drove home by train. Trains were more than full because everybody wanted to go to Berlin, because Berlin was also divided in east and west. And so it was a chance to go to the west. Yeah? And so from Dresden to Berlin the train was horrible full, horrible crowded. And yeah, so we went home, and then actually I said, okay, I will wait until everything is a little bit coming down and there is more space and you can go back and can see West Berlin yourself. It was actually 2 days later, Sunday I went.
Right. What are the differences between your life now and your life the GDR?
I mean, you cannot really compare because it's, I mean, I was 20-25 years younger, so it's completely different. But of course, for me, very important is the possibility to travel. Once again, the point, traveling and saying openly what you think about the government and everything. So that are the two biggest differences for myself. And as traveling for myself was always very important, that is one of the main differences I personally feel and enjoy. So I'm traveling a lot. I even worked for some years in different countries as I was a tour guide. And so it's a special kind of, it's a freedom you have now. You can go where you want, you just need your passport and then you can travel. And that's one of the biggest issues for myself in this case.
Have you heard about any case of children who were kidnapped, tortured, or killed?
No, not really.
Could you describe your childhood during that period? Understand?
Yeah, the childhood it was, I mean, what we called normal. So it was the same. You just woke up in the morning, you had breakfast, you just prepared yourself and went to school. In the afternoon, you did your homework for the school, prepared for next day. And of course, sometimes you had at home, wash the dishes or make the garden or whatever, or help your parents. And of course, you played with some friends outside. So basically, it was, I guess, not that much different from today for the kids. I mean, as long as you were a child. So that was normal life. I guess even similar as the guys or the kids do today. So I don't think that there's a very big difference.
Okay. What is your favorite memory of your childhood?
Favorite memory? Oh yeah. I don't know, there are so many things, so many events happening in life. So, I mean, for example, again, traveling. We had a very nice trip with my parents to Hungary. There we went to thermal bath, so it's a kind of hot water sea, you can say, with some medical helpful water, the thermal water. And that was actually very interesting for me because it was the first time that I see hot water coming out of the earth, even a little bit bubbling. And I was really, really impressed about that because I've never seen that before, except in the TV, of course. But that was one of the things I said, wow, there are so many different things in the world I haven't seen. I want to see more. So maybe that was like a little key experience.
What would you tell the teenagers to avoid the repetition of this great period?
I think I didn't understand.
What would you tell the teenagers to avoid the repetition of this cruel period. Understand me?
What would you say to the teenagers
Today?
Not to repeat?
Repeat, not to repeat. Yeah, I don't know if the teenagers really have a chance to influence that much the whole development of the country, of the culture. I mean, of course, they grow up and later they will be the adults and then they can change something. I guess the teenagers should be open for everything and should really start or try to think clearly, even to get different information from different parts, to get their own opinion about something. And then I'm sure that they will find a way, which I would call a good way, to find their own way through the whole jungle, through the whole life.
How was the school in the GDR?
Some people might say that the school system was even better than this one we have now. I mean, as a child or as a kid, of course, you don't like to go to school. I think it's the same everywhere and everywhere. But actually, the last 2 years I really enjoyed very much. I went 10 years, so we had a 10-year program in school. And the last 2 years actually was really, I wouldn't even call it a little bit fun. I really liked that. Because it was like going to school to see friends, to study together, and in the afternoon or evening you play together, and then yeah, it was a nice time, and I think it was, system-wise, it was a very good time.
Okay. Can you tell us something about Stasi? Do you feel you trust people?
I mean, personally, I was not, as far as I'm aware of, I was not really involved with someone from Stasi or whatever. But of course, especially when I applied to go to the university, we found out that somebody, I don't know who, gave some information to maybe Stasi or whatever kind of system people there were. So they knew things they could normally not know. So that was maybe one reason why I was not allowed to study, why before I was not allowed to do the high school. So the whole thing was kind of maybe mysterious. And actually, after the war came down, I have never been to the Gaukbehörde, so this kind of office which tries to sort out all these things, to find out who took care of something, who told something about someone, and all these things. I said, okay, for me, I just close these, and I will not just stick my fingers into and try to find out who maybe pushed the knife into my back or whatever. So I said, okay, forget it. It's over. I cannot do I mean, maybe I could have done the high school later again as an adult, but I focused on the way forward, and I said, okay, I don't look back in the past. So I'm sure that there are some people who really influenced my life because of telling something, information they found out, they got, whatever. But I really didn't want to put the fingers again in it. I just closed it.
Okay. Can you add anything else?
Would you like to add anything else about your life in the GDR?
Oh, there are so many things, but then we are still sitting next week. So. Yeah.
Thank you for your time.
Not at all.
It has been a pleasure to share some time with a German person and to listen to your experience.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate your effort. Thank you very much.
Okay, but this one I can show you anyway if you want. So, for example, this one is a Pionierausweis. So that was, I mean, the kind of youngest organization, I mean, for the youngest kids when they came to school. And, I mean, I wouldn't call it the same as a Scouts, you say? The Fahrkinder? Yeah, we got these little scarf. Yeah. So, I mean, the outlook, but of course the system was different. So it was, of course, there was always a political background, which of course you don't know when you're a child. Yeah, exactly. That was the youngest one. When you were later, you got, instead of the blue one, you got the red one here. And later you got this one. Of course, everything was on your own wish, but if you didn't do it, then you had to face some problems. So that one was actually horrible. That one was actually, I think, in the 8th grade or something. You changed from Pionier to the FDJ, Free German Jugend. So it was actually for young people, for teenager, the kind of political organization, you can say. But almost everybody had to go there, otherwise you would have faced problems. So we said, okay. And then every month you had to pay 30 cents. So it was like to support the whole thing. This one is the ID card. I mean the ID pass was it this one? It was not a card, it was actually this one. Still the old one. And maybe the most interesting part is I got a passport. I just heard from a friend who is sitting behind that not everybody had a passport. I don't really remember because actually, as I told you before, we were not allowed to travel so much. So you could just go with this one. For example, to Hungary, there are still the stamps from the border, from the customs. In the communist countries, So this one was enough. So not many people had the passport. But this one, I guess, maybe because right after the wall came down, I had I applied before and I got it later, a small trip to West Germany. And as you can see, this one was issued 1 day before the wall came down. No, 2 years, sorry, 91, no, 2 years later. No, sorry, that was, it's valid until, no, this one, it can be this one. So it was one day before the wall came down, it was issued. So very funny. And I got then later this one, that is actually the stamp, which is very famous because it went to all the media, that you were allowed to leave East Germany to go to other countries. But that was issued in 1990, so 5, 6... Okay. It's sharp, it's clear, or you want to take it closer? Or?
Sure. Thank you very much.
Not at all. Okay. Then, good luck, have fun.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.